Fishing trips anywhere, anytime. FishingBooker.com. Want to plan your next fishing trip without the hassle? FishingBooker.com is the best way to find and book a fishing charter anywhere in the world. Whether you're chasing trophy fish or just looking for a family day on the water, Fishing Booker makes it simple, fast, and secure. With thousands of experienced guides, verified reviews, and 24/7 customer support, Fishing Booker takes the guesswork out of planning. Visit FishingBooker.com and book your trip today. Fishing Booker. Fishing trips made easy.
Hi, I'm Matt, founder of Afuera Coffee. Coffee for the outdoors. Afuera means outside in Spanish, and we believe your coffee should be as exceptional as your outdoor experiences. We source specialty coffee, grown sustainably, sourced with care, and roasted on demand. No hype, no gourmet or premium labels, just the best coffee you've ever had delivered to your door. We roast, bag, and ship right here in the U.S., and everything we do has Mother Nature at the forefront of our decision-making, from compostable bags to recycled mailers and labels. Plus, we donate 5% of all sales, not just profits, to charities that protect and preserve the outdoors we love. Ready to upgrade your coffee and make a difference? Check us out at afueracoffee.com. That's AFUERA coffee.com. You'll find our full lineup of roasts, stories behind the beans, and more about the causes we support. Enjoy your next outdoor adventure with purpose and an incredible coffee in hand.
All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Bowhunter Chronicles podcast, brought to you by Huntworth. Huntworth gear for all types of weather, all types of terrain, all types of budgets. It's clothing that just works. Check them out at huntworthgear.com. Today's episode is a super fun one. Talking with a good friend of mine, Arron Bleise, the Fall podcast. You've seen him on some of the Grit episodes. Discovery Channel dropped all different aspects of outdoor filming and production, but we're talking he drew a Iowa tag, so his logo came from the last time he hunted Iowa. So we talk about that, his experiences. The last time that he was on the podcast, we talked about him, maybe trying to hunt some more public land. He has done that and had a myriad of different experiences, and we kind of talk through those experiences, public land versus, not necessarily like the old public land versus private land thing, but just his perspective after having done it. I think he says that he's had a total of 30 sits on public, and maybe the things that are like holding him back, some of the things that give him pause or some sort of trepidation as he dives into a little bit more public land here and there. And then we talk through, how to get past that and in all aspects. So any of that trepidation, whether it's like filming, changing up your styles, editing, whether you're starting to film or on the hunting side, transitioning from public to private, or like the not necessarily the differences, because that's been beaten like a dead horse, but just essentially being able to utilize those mindsets to your advantage, and just kind of using, the cliche of all the tools in the toolbox, again, both for hunting and filming, editing, all that stuff. But a fun conversation, talk a little bit about inspirations and things like that. I know you guys are going to love this one, like I said, because it's two buddies sitting down just talking about our experiences. Lots of fun. And there is some Latitude tidbits in there. They just dropped all their mossy oak gear. So that pattern is out there. But Arron does kind of mention a little bit about the Method 3 saddle, the differences in that and what's coming out. So definitely take a look at that. You can use code BHC over at Latitude to save 15%, along with our other partners, friends. Big Shot Targets, BCP 10% there. Spartan Forge, you can still save. Bowhunter, You can save 25% using Bowhunter over there. Check out our friends at Canadi and Zinger. They've got another arrow in the works that's set to come out here very shortly. Genesis 3D, Austin and Hope, great people, great products. They definitely have something that you need over there. And since we're on the filming thing, Painted Arrow, you can save 15% over there with BHC15. But this episode is a ton of fun. Really had fun rehashing the Lost episode that we recorded that may never be seen again. Fun discussion there. But as always, guys, thanks for listening. Thanks for supporting the show. Enjoy the episode. All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Bowhunter Chronicles podcast. Arron Bleise, the fall podcast, on here today. And we were just talking. It sounds like the last time we had this conversation was before we went to Iowa the first time.
Which is wild to me, man.
Because of how many times we've actually like seen each other in person and had these conversations. Yeah. It's nuts. But it was after that, I said, I'm going to throw him a curveball right here off of the get-go. We collectively recorded the best podcast ever that will never be heard or seen. I think he deleted it immediately.
So I actually did not delete it. It honestly, I don't know what happened, Adam. And it's funny you bring this up because Derek, I want to say it was last week, Derek and Corey came to Michigan we were doing a shoot for Latitude. And I want to say Derek brought it up. We were just kind of BSing one night, having a couple beers, and he brought it up or something like that. And I'm like, dude, I legitimately don't know what happened. It wasn't like it was an amazing podcast. Like, I actually think about that. It was you, me, Derek, Corey. Was DJ on it too?
Yeah.
DJ, was that it?
I think so.
What a time to be alive that time, huh? But I really don't know what happened to that. It is the most mysterious episode of the fall podcast. Will go down in history.
And there may have been a cameo from a Busch Light or a Coors Light or two in there.
There was a few.
But what I like about that conversation that we had, it was about, and I think you just kind of, on one of your more recent podcasts or one of the clips that I saw, that's kind of what brought it up. And maybe that's what it brought it back for Derek, was you were talking to somebody about some of the lost arts in like content creation or like production. And the conversation that we had was like, we kind of did like a roundtable around the room about, like who you not necessarily like looked up to, but like whose content you were like following along with, paying attention to, kind of wish that you could, who kind of motivated you. And so for you, having done it from, network TV type thing to, I know you'll give a lot of credit to Derek with the grit and all of that stuff, but I'm sure that you're instrumental in his growth and, a lot of the things that have happened there. And I think I can speak for 99% of the people in my circle that think that that's like one of the best things that's being put out, currently. So for you, what are some things that motivate you still? And you just had mentioned earlier about, about, how long we've been doing these podcasts and all this stuff, and how it's kind of, you're trying to change up the scheduling a little bit and stuff like that because of life. So this far into your, career as a producer and things like that, what still motivates you? Who do you look to for stuff like that?
It's shifted a little bit, and I think that could be a little bit of me being a scatterbrain too. But, growing up, like I say growing up, but when I started really getting into the filming thing and wanting to do it on a higher level, it's always been like a Heartland Bowhunter has always been my go-to. There's a couple other names, like the film Rivers Divide from Donnie Vincent is still to this day, in my opinion, the best short film ever put out about a whitetail hunting. I think it's amazing. And then the other one, it's kind of the other end of the spectrum, is Jared Scheffler. So like back in the day, I think it was 2008 or 9, my buddies and we started our own little group called Mainframe Outdoors, and we started filming stuff. And I remember going up to Jay's Sporting Goods and seeing Jared's first ever DVD on the shelf there, and I bought it. And like my very first inspiration of like, I don't want to say ripping off, but like kind of emulating or like trying to do something would be something of like what Jared did. Like, so he was a big part of that as well. But I will say now, as I sit here today, it's kind of shifted. And I think personally for me, now I'm not saying for like the grit side of things and what we do with Latitude, but like if I'm going out to do a hunt for myself and I'm filming it myself, like what I'm really trying to look at and get inspiration from is like a Curtis Zabel. Like a try to do it as cinematic as I possibly can by myself. Like I like having a camera guy with me and everything because you don't have to worry about it. Like it's like, hey, you on them? Yeah, good. But that's been done a lot, and even the self film thing has been done a lot. But it's hard. It brings another like difficult aspect into what you're already doing. That's difficult in hunting, trying to get on these animals, whatever you might be doing. Curtis Zabel, there's two guys that I look up to that I think do the self-filming thing. Well, three guys, I'll say, but two that really stick out. Greg Clements from Hunting Public. He has been the guy. He's my type of guy. He's kind of in the background. He kind of like just does really good production stuff. But then when you see like his self-film hunts on whether it's Midwest Whitetail or Hunting Public, those are the first ones I'm going to watch no matter what. Like it just, I like his style, like what he does. And then the stuff Curtis puts out is like top notch. I think those two guys, and then I would say my honorable mention is Jared Mills. Like he's a really high end self filmer. I kind of like really look at those guys' stuff and try to do that. And so to answer your question, a long-winded way of saying like my inspiration's kind of those guys, and kind of when I'm doing things for myself, it's like more trying to push towards that, I would say.
Interesting, because in the bush light fueled thing, you put me onto somebody that I hadn't even paid attention to really, which was Jeremy Arron. And
he's another one. Yes.
And that's a whole nother side of it. And I think that has helped me to like almost like know my lane, like be able to stay in my lane. Is like, you know, so you're somebody that I respect. Those guys that you just talked about, Curtis, especially, like where he started and where he's at now is, I mean, it's incredible. But you're saying like you don't have the ability to just flip on a camera and be okay with it. I mean, that's what I did last year was, you know, between the small ZV-1, a 360 camera, and my phone, I was like, I'm going to tell a story with this. And I never had more fun than doing it that way instead of thinking about like, oh, what do I need to do for this or this or
right.
this, you know?
Yeah. And before you keep going, Jeremy Arron and his partner, Daniel Lemon, like I forgot about them. I apologize. I'm glad you brought that up because those guys, when they're on, and you know, they don't even they could tell me otherwise, but like their footage doesn't even look like it's color graded. There's not a ton of cinematography. But dude, I get captivated by it. I get sucked into it. And he could be sitting there talking for 7 minutes, just vlogging. And I'm just like looking at it, you know, and I'm just like ingrained in, I don't know. That's just kind of where I've went to now. And I will say like, you know, for my tenure of doing what I'm doing, I'm in year 14 of filming, I will say quote unquote, like professionally, kind of like on a higher level, I would say. I find myself kind of want to revert back to like, I don't want to use a tripod all the time. I don't want to use a camera arm all the time. I kind of just want to go do it. And I think that kind of goes back to how I remember it as a kid. Like I remember my Uncle Bill around our deer camp having a VHS camera that goes on your shoulder. And he'd run around with that thing and just, we've still got VHS footage of that. And I'm like, I kind of miss that. You know, I kind of like, I love the cinematic thing. I try to make everything look as good as possible, but there is something to be said for that just POV, just kind of get what you can get and tell the best possible story that you can.
Yeah, and I think for a guy like myself, I think it allows you to like be freer. Like you're like when I watch Curtis's stuff, I watch it. I mean, when it drops, like I want to watch it because I like those guys, but I mean, it is amazing what they put out. I mean, it's some of those, like the I don't know what the name of it is called or whatever, but the one where Skylar shoots that buck at the base of their tree.
Yes.
You know, even, you know, they're filming, Skylar's self-filming out on that like CRP field or whatever. And that to me is like Heartland Bowhunter quality
It is.
stuff. But I don't look at that and say, oh, that's something that I can do. But when I watch, you had said that about the DIY hunter, Jeremy Aaron, like I started watching that stuff and I was like, oh, I can do this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's the tough part. It's like, I watch Curtis's stuff because it's beautiful and it's a great story. But I don't think like, oh, it doesn't motivate me. It doesn't inspire me to be like, I can do that.
Yeah. And, and I think the Heartland Bowhunter thing for me, like that's something I strive to do. Like, I don't think I'm there. Like I very much think that when I worked for the Kiefers and we were doing Rival Wild, like I really think that we had that style. And I feel like that was probably when I was shooting the best because I was young, I was eager. And everything we wanted it was like kind of new. That look was kind of new back then. Now, like the thing I love about Curtis so much, and he could tell me I'm completely wrong, but I love how he'll throw cinematic drone shots in or a cinematic, like I'll never forget like that film he put out of him in Minnesota. I think it was the one when and the first shot starts off and you can tell he set the camera up on a static shot and he walked in the snow in front of it and he's talking to VO. Dude, I get chills every time I just see that one shot. And it's like, I love how he marries those cinematic great shots in VO to a vlog, could be with his GoPro, could be with a DSLR, into the tree where it's just all self film. And he might not even get the deer on camera on the kill shot, but like I just love that marry of both. It's like a hybrid, and I think that's where I'm trying to emulate into my like personal stuff. Now the grit, I love the grit style, but it is like ADD. Like it is like, so even when I edit it, I have to like kind of jump out of my comfort zone and like really like totally, to be totally honest with you, when I'm editing at something and when I know it's going to be good that Alex wants and stuff like that is when I look at it, I'm like, man, I would not do something like that. And then he watches, he's like, you nailed it. And I'm like, okay, here we go. Like, like I feel so far out of my comfort zone and he's like, you nailed it. And I'm like, but that's been a great experience for me too, because Alex's style is totally different than my style. And it's really like, year 14 into my career, I've been with Latitude 2.5 years now and helped produce all 3 years of grit. Like it's really like kind of teaching an old dog new tricks, kind of like it's expanded my portfolio a little bit and I can learn new things, I guess I could say.
Well, and I think that is like, it's twofold. It goes the other way. Like as I look at stuff and I know that you've been talking a bunch with like Nate Roosevelt and we're trying to do some filming stuff and things like that. And, the more knowledge that you have, the easier it is to take, when you go out and you are going to do something just like, oh, I'm just going to do this willy-nilly with my GoPro, my phone, or maybe I'm not going to set up a tripod. All of those years of experience and everything come in and it doesn't look like, I did it or like whatever. And the same thing is true. Like for me, it's like the more I'm around and get to learn from people of like, this is how you set up a shot. This is what we're looking for. This is the camera settings. I can get, 5% better. And then those clips that I can pull are better. And I think that goes probably the same way with you and like editing is you can make something that maybe wouldn't have worked before and transform it into something amazing. And now you just have to maybe cut it up 17 times before you get to the whole use of it.
That's the truth. I did an ad the other day, actually it's out there on Latitude. I did a bite bow hanger, or I think it's out there. I did a bite bow hanger ad and I shot it. Derek shot some shots in it as well. Like we have this, we're going down this, like this different style when it comes to ads and everything. And it's very quick, very like nat sound driven, very different, very kind of ADD and alike. I mean that in a good way. And I had a vision when I went into doing that spot. Now I was literally only trying to do a thick ad, and it was about a bow hanger. It's like how awesome is a bow hanger? Like it's not like glamorous or anything like that. So it's like I went into this and I had an idea and I started putting clips in. And, you know, for me, like growing up, like going to college for videography and stuff like that, like you learn a story, like they teach you to put a story together from finish to end, like a book, you know, page 1 to 300, whatever. Where I have the biggest hiccups is like, you know, if we have a scene where it's like somebody's getting up in a tree and then pulling their bow up and then hanging their bow, taking their quiver off or whatever, like to me, it needs to be in sequential order because that's how it happened. But like the more I jump out of that and just do crazy stuff, like I might do an overlay or I might do some glitching or I might do some more sound effects, like, and the more I feel like I take it out of sequence, the better the ad does. I don't know why. It's really hard for my brain to wrap around, but I had a vision for it and I did it. And I'm like, man, I did the final watch through before I sent it to the guys to kind of like approve. Like, I don't know. I literally did that. I don't know. And I exported, I sent it to him. And I think Alex's words were, that's been the best ad so far yet this summer. And I'm like, okay, like we're there, you know, we're good. But yeah, I was so ADD when I did it, just jumping around everywhere, throwing different shots in here. Might throw like a truck shot going, you know, a truck driving down a gravel road when we've already established someone in the tree and it's just random and quick. And I'm like, it makes no sense, but it's like, it works. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to think of like the ad or whatever, like just even some of the more recent ones. And I think we have such a, you know, we're being inundated with shorts and reels. And I mean, like, at least for me on my phone, I can't even open up YouTube. It doesn't even give me a search thing anymore. It just gives you a video. Like, you don't even get the opportunity. So I think that that's probably a lot of it. And I think, you know, that's what happens. Like when I will edit something and I'll go back and watch it. And I'll be like, if I get bored, if this is a spot there where I would skip on YouTube or whatever, then I just got to cut it out. And that's probably, you know, kind of where that lands. I would have to imagine.
I fight with that. Like I fight with it all the time because it could be Alex, you know, in public land somewhere and I'm editing Grit and I'm like, man, he's throwing some really good knowledge here, but it's taken 3 minutes. And my mind is telling me, I would turn it off if I was watching it. But the producer in me and the educator trying to like get the word out there is like, but this is riveting stuff. Like it's good. Like if you're trying to teach someone something about a saddle or whatever it might be, it's good information from a guy that's credible in that. And it's like, you know, and more times than not, I'm cutting it down or, you know, just getting it out of there completely. So I think, you know, like on the Grit side of, or I wouldn't even say on the Grit side of things, I guess if you're going into something or if I'm going into something, I really got to figure out like, what is this video about? Is this going to be like, we're going to go down an education road? Is there's going to be a little mix of it here? Or is it like entertainment? It's always a double-edged sword. And I think the words, I'll never forget something. Years ago, I was told a video can always be done better. Always. Like you could edit something where you absolutely love it and you're like, I wouldn't change a thing. And you go back in a year and you're like, man, I could have done that better. Like it could always be done better. So it's like, where do you draw that line? Like, where do you say I'm good? Like I'm, you know, a lot of times it's just fatigue. I've watched this shit for a month, you know, 300 times. It's like, I'm done with it. Like, let's just get it out. But those words right there, and I think about that every day as I'm doing something. It's like, it always can be done better, but then it's like, you'll perfection yourself into insanity and you just don't know when to end kind of thing. So you got to find that line and when to, you know, cut or loose kind of thing.
Yeah. I think personally, I like more of the B-roll. Like I can listen to somebody talk, but I can't watch them just talk for,
yeah. Yep.
And even if it's like the multiple camera angle shot where you're just going from here to there to there to there, like I'm much better with that than like just sitting watching, you know.
Yeah, and that's you know, I personally call like all the B-roll stuff like the storytelling kind of thing. Like if there's nobody talking, or you could put it over someone talking, but you know, I'm actually the hunt I had in 23 when I shot my buck in the 1 acre. I haven't we did it on grit, but I'm like kind of doing a deeper dive for my YouTube channel. And I actually last night I was editing a little bit of it, and I was cutting the hunt together again. And I got to this point where, I killed him on a mock scrape, and it was a tree that I actually put in the plot. And I had a shot of it, and I'm like, when I put it in there, I was talking, and it was a kind of a longer talk, and I needed a B-roll shot. I needed a storytelling shot, and I had yet to show that scrape tree because I'm like, that scrape tree is a big part of this story. It just sits there. It doesn't do anything, but the deer was hammering that scrape when I shot him. So, like, I got to establish that, like those storyline shots, like even that made me a better shooter as well when I started getting into it. Like, what are characters in this scene right now? And even in a hunt, it's like, you could shoot a deer and you could hit a branch and miss the deer. But if you didn't go back and get a shot of that branch with the mark in it, or maybe like going like this, we're just taking your word for it. The story is like, I got to show people that, and like that kind of like takes it home, if that makes sense. Like, there's so many characters in a scene, it doesn't matter what you're doing. You just got to figure out how to pull those out,
Yeah, I have so much respect for you guys that do this and can do that, because I want to be that guy, but I have like no organizational skills, I guess is the best way to put it. Like,
okay.
because there's a lot of things that we'll do, like up at our property in the UP. Like today I just went and bought some bear bait. Like we went and put up some stuff, like gonna finally hunt bear up there. And like, to take video of that months in advance, knowing that I need this clip for 6 months later, and to be like, oh, I know I have that somewhere. Like, I'm like, I know I have video of like lots of stuff like that, but I don't, I don't have I don't know. I don't even know what the word is to like go back, the wherewithal to go back in there and find it, or like, it doesn't, that 20-second clip worth it for me at this point,
It is. And that's the tough thing. And I think I'm organized with organized chaos, but like, that is one thing that I'm a procrastinator at heart, where, if let's say I go hunt tonight and I film, and let's say I just film the hunt. If I don't go and dump those cards tonight, it'll never get dumped. It'll never, and I don't want to do it. I don't want to go dump it, but I have to. Like, I've had to force myself over the years to do it and try to stay as organized as possible. And I look back at like this little story that I'm putting together about this deer. It's actually a 7-year story, not with the deer, but with the 1 acre and how it's all kind of come to be. And I have footage back, like, me putting the very first trail cam out on this farm when I got it. And, so I'm trying to like figure out how to integrate all that, but I don't know how many food plots I went in and like used a rake and I filmed with my phone, and I lost those clips. And I'm like, what the hell? Because for me, like, if I'm going to go check a trail camera today or something, let's just say, or go check a vitalized food plot, like, I always fight with myself. I'm like, do I need to take the camera and do an update, or do I just like go and get it over with and get back, And it's like, will I use that? Will today and, July, whatever it is, will that come into the story if I kill a deer on it in November? I don't know. So ultimately I ended up defaulting to just like taking the camera and then bitching when I'm there that I have the camera and what am I doing? And it's a fight every day, dude, with that.
Okay, so I'm not alone in that struggle.
No, you're not alone at all. No.
So, what was I going to say? Oh, so interestingly enough, that's kind of like where I wanted to take this conversation, and you kind of had like a nice little segue there about having to like dump the cards and procrastinate and do all of that stuff. So when you were in Kansas, you guys were doing podcasts in real time.
Yep.
And that ended up being really good for me because I was going right out
after
there
us.
on your tail. So it was very helpful on my 12-hour drive out there. So I think the last time, and when we talked about this a little bit before the podcast, I think the last time was prior to you. I was trying to get you to go hunt some public land, and you hadn't ever done that. And we were talking about where you're going to do it in Iowa, anything like that. And now you've drawn Iowa again. It's been that long.
Yeah.
So So for your experience from that conversation to now, where have you hunted on public land and what have been your experiences?
So I've hunted Michigan very little, just a few handful of sits in Michigan, Illinois, and then Kansas. And I will draw Kansas again next year, and I'm going to do public again. So to answer your question about that, it's so congested in my head with public. I have no issues with public hunting. I think to me it's a very romantic thing. Like when I think about it, I'm like, man, it's really cool. Like I really do think it's that. But like, last year in Illinois I struggled, and I actually was talking, I did a podcast with DJ last night, and that'll be going live here, and we kind of do a deep dive into it. But I feel like I left some stuff on the table on that trip, but the product of my environment, how I grew up hunting, was very much, you go hunting in the morning at a tree or at a location that either you hung right then or it's already hung. You come back, you congregate, you do your thing, deer camp, whatever, and then you go back out hunt in the evening. Or vice versa, you hunt in the morning, don't hunt in the evening, hunt in the evening, don't hunt in the morning. You get it. So like, obviously, and this is no rocket science, but like hunting public is, it's vastly different than hunting a private piece. It is like, my approach when I go out to Iowa this year is going to be totally different than the approach that I took going to Kansas or Illinois. It's two totally different systems for me. And I'm speaking for myself. Like, the Iowa thing is, I don't know the property. I've never been on the property yet. But, I'm going to take the approach of what I do here at home because it works for me here, and I can kind of control it. I don't have to worry about anybody else being in there. But like, if I went into that piece and I just started banging around and walking the whole thing, I could blow it out for the whole week that I'm there. Now, with public, you could go walk that every inch of a 15,000 acre piece and you could still bop around and get into some deer. So it's two totally different things. Now, the Illinois thing last year, I would hunt in the morning and I would scout a little bit, but I didn't do it every day. Like, I was more relying on my e-scouting and diving in to areas that look good to me on the map and kind of like scouting my way in a sense. But where I really screwed up looking back is like, I didn't give myself enough time. I'm definitely haven't been one of those guys that's like, I'm going to the piece of public, I'm going to hunt the morning, and then I'm just going to spend all day on that piece. Like, I'm going to hunt and then go scout and then hunt. It's really hard for me, for my head to wrap around that because it's just new for me. My scouting, has always been done postseason. Like, because I've always been a private land guy where it's like you scout postseason, you get all your plays ready, per se, and then you go execute those plays on game time or game day, and that was my playbook. In the public sense, it's more like, you have to go make those plays while the game's going on. Like, it's more of a freestyle thing. Like, you got to adapt. And I'm very new at the whole public land thing. I've only taken, all honesty, I've probably only done 30 sits on public. That's not a lot. And never having prior knowledge to any of the publics I've ever hunted since when I went there, we were dropping in every time. So like I was talking to DJ about, I said, what I want to do the next time I go hunt public is, you hear about these guys, they're like, man, went on a 7-day public hunt and I didn't hunt. I scouted for the first 3 to 4 days. I'm like, I cannot wrap my head around that. Because I think also my life is running so fast. And if I literally called back home on day 3 and my wife's like, how's the hunt going? I'm like, I really haven't gotten a tree yet. She'd be like, well, what the fuck are you doing? Like, you know what I mean? Like, she gets it. She supports me, but like, what are you doing? Like, why aren't you hunting? Like, well, honey, this is, you know how that is weird. Like, and I'd almost be like, well, what are you doing? So it's hard for me to wrap my head around that, like scouting and finding like sign, or like finding the best sign and set it. Okay, let me go back. I'm scatterbrained right now. I will say I had a system when we went into Illinois. We drove all the way there that morning, got there that day. I knew I wanted to go in this particular system. I get there, we go in, dude, the sign is everywhere. I am like, this is the spot. Well, I hunted it the next morning. We hung some cameras, and it just didn't end up panning out how I thought. Now, should I have kept going? Was that not the spot? Should I have, like, I was like, that, you can kill a deer right here. Did I not give that spot long enough? You know, so it's really hard for me to wrap my head around not hunting for a quarter or a half of the trip and then getting in and just putting all your chips in like 2 sits, 3 sits maybe. And I'm like, I can't do that. Like, I got to get in a tree. So I don't know. That's a long-winded way of probably not answering your question, but where my head is at, like, I love it. I still really do. It's a pain in the ass. And I think that's why I like it so much, is it sucks. Like, it legitimately sucks ass, but that's what keeps coming back. I'll never forget when I was coming home from Illinois. I'm like, man, I was tired. Like, I was like, that sucked, but I'm ready to do it again. Like, and I haven't killed a deer on public either. So that kind of like, that goal is there.
Man, there's so much in there. I love there's some great little tiny video snippets in there too.
Sorry, I was way too long-winded.
No, it's absolutely great. But I think, your transparency there to be like, I've only sat 30 sits on public, and if you think about that, like, for the most of people, and the people that are in your like very close proximity, like your hunting partners, your videos that you're editing, I mean, like, you're getting a real-time look. I mean, we get to see from the grit, like, what the things that went right and maybe a couple things that went wrong, but you have to wade through all of the video, and you're getting like a master class on the ADD hunting. I mean, I guess if we were going to theme the whole thing. But at the same time, when you were saying like, that's the spot in Illinois, what I was thinking in my head was, if that was your 1 acre, like, would you have sat there the whole time? And I think that's where the two hunting styles like marry, right? Like, there isn't there's not two guys out there who are doing it at a super high level that do things the exact same way every time. And that's what's fun about like doing podcasts, or you go back to some of the things that we did with the Vitals Live and things like that, where you had guys like talking about the exact same scenarios, and there were similarities, but they wouldn't hunt them the same, and that to me is like the fun part. Now for you, I remember, I don't even know if it came out like on the podcast or if it was just an our talking, but I know that it was out there that you had some guys walk in on you and stuff like that. And you were like, I hate public. Like, I don't, why am I doing this?
That was in Kansas. Yeah. You did ask me that question. So my experience in Kansas was, well, both. I mean, there was a lot of humans. There's a lot of guys. Like, there was so in Kansas, I got walked in on 3 times. Okay. 3 times in 7 days of hunting, 3 sits or whatever. To me, that's a lot. Like, I think that, and somebody that hunts public a lot could be like, nah, to me, that's a lot. That's technically, I mean, you could say that's 3 blown sits out of how many out of a week, that I didn't have a bad experience. I went full draw 3 times on good deer, and just, there was a branch in the way or something. Like, it was just one of those things, like, you're hitting your head against the wall. Like, is this ever going to happen? And I had a good time, and I was with all my closest friends. Like, that trip was more of like, I just wanted to be with my buddies like that, and like pulling deer out and stuff like that. Like, that was so much fun. So that was kind of my Kansas experience. I would change, like, the next time I go, I'm going to change some mindset things up, I think. But that would be about it. My Illinois thing, the pressure was way more. There was way more pressure than Kansas, and it really got to me. I never got walked in on. I never walked in on anybody. But the amount of vehicles in the parking lots was overwhelming. For me, being full transparent, I was targeting parking lots that had 2 or less vehicles. Like, if it had 3 vehicles, I wasn't going in there, depending on how big that section was also. Because I also look at like the map, and I'm like, man, how many like A spots in my mind are there? And to me, I'm like, those guys are probably already there. You know, that is a me problem. That is a between the ears problem. And that's just me just never having to really deal with pressure. You know, DJ, he went in on a sit when there was like 8 trucks and never saw one guy. And I'm like, how? Like, how is that possible? But I would go back there. We're going to go back there. That might be like an every year trip because I just love that area. But I think the public thing for me, the experience, where my experience lies, I know the deer are there. It's just like trying to get over that pressure thing. And it's my problem with public land is not that it's public land or not that it's, you know, hard or anything like that. It's literally because I have not dealt with as many people to like bounce around on. To be honest with you, like, I'm not a confrontational person either. And I feel like I've heard more horror stories about like guys going, oh, you screwed up my spot. Like there's, you know, and like, I don't want to deal with that. Like, and the other thing I think of too, and maybe as I'm just too into my head, but how many other guys are out there that are like, this might be their only 4 days of hunting. And I walk in on this guy and he's just like, that would be devastating for me. Like if it was me in his shoes, that would suck. So it's a me problem. It's between the ears. I got to get over it. I just got to go do it because it hinders me. Like I laid off a lot of good areas, I feel like, last year in Illinois because there was too many vehicles in there, you know, and I think my mindset change is like, just go, just do it. Whatever happens, happens. Screw it. Like, and I got to work at that kind of thing, you know? So that was kind of my experience for both. Michigan, I don't even want to say that. I was like, there's so much where I was hunting. You wouldn't see a freaking human for a week. Like, it was like, you don't have to worry about the only sidebar is like, you don't see any deer hardly. It's like, what do you want? The deer or the people? Like, you have your cake and eat it too kind of thing, you know?
So I know that like Derek and Alex seem to be like a dynamic duo, but have you got to hunt with Alex and like kind of see the chaos from that side?
In Michigan, yeah, the 2 trips in Michigan that we've done, and it's like the thing with Alex is Alex is just going to outwork everything. And I'm not saying he doesn't have knowledge; he's very knowledgeable, but that son of a bitch works his butt off. Like I can totally tell you, I could not film him because I just don't know if I could go as hard as he does. Like he just works his butt off. And I think that's how he knows how to do it, is just keep going. You know, and he always says like, we got him, you know, that's a mantra. That's not like, it's him psyching himself up to go in there that day. And there's one thing that Alex told me a couple years ago, just him and I BSing. I don't even think it was deer season, but he was like, you just got to go. You got to go. Like, no, when you get up and you don't want to get up in the morning, it's like, you just got to tell yourself, you just got to go. And that stuck with me. And that'll always stick with me because the hardest part of getting up in the morning is not hearing your alarm and getting dressed or getting coffee or whatever it is. The hardest part is moving your right and left leg to the carpet is the hardest part. Because it's like, you're in your nice bed and everything. And you're like, I don't want to get up. That is the hardest part about getting up in the morning. And it's like, you know, you just got to go. You got to do it. You were up late last night. That's your own fault. You got to go. Today is the day it's going to happen.
Yeah, the reason that I ask is just from a, you know, like mentor standpoint. Like I'm sure when you started filming, you were interning and it's like but you have had 30 sits on public land. So you haven't like interned. Like you don't have that time in watching somebody I mean, you're surrounded by people at like super high levels that do it all the time. It's just like, well, I'll just sit up at my switchboard and I'll just push the buttons. I don't want to be out there running the camera. I don't want to be on the field with, you know, chasing these players around with the camera. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. And, you know, I will say like for the public land hunting side of things, I'll be honest with you, I don't have a mentor, and it's none for the other reason of just like, for me and how I learn, I just have to go do it. Like Alex could sit there and tell me how these deer are going to drop down, and I can watch a video on Dan and Fall or whoever. It's like, these deer are going to drop down here and do this. And it's like, yeah, but I have to be boots on the ground and see it for me to believe it. And like, I'm not saying he's wrong, but it's just like, that's how I learn. So it's like myself, I just know I'm throwing myself into the fire, and you're just going to learn by boots on the ground and doing it.
Well, and that's exactly my point, is that I don't think that you lack those skills, all of your deer hunting, can translate to public land. I don't even know that it's a skill necessarily, but to be able to not be worried about the cars in the parking lot, to not be worried about seeing a tree stand hanging in the woods, to be on the ground and to see how these guys walk past that or how it doesn't bother them, and to be able to like kind of get inside their heads and then see it like tangibly work out. You know what I'm saying? Like those are the experiences. All the hunting stuff, like, that's why e-scouting works as well as it does, is because I was in this experience here. Oh, it looks like that here. This looks like a transition. We'll go there. There it is. But you don't e-scout. Okay, there were 7 trucks in the parking lot here, and I saw all these bucks here. You know what I mean? That's the stuff that's what I'm talking about, is that to be able to see guys and how their mindset shifts in those situations.
Yeah, definitely. So to answer your question, no, I haven't been like actually in the field scouting with Alex or anything like that, or hunting. So I think like if I was like, Derek's got like in his head, he's got so many, different ideas, and like he could probably be a pretty damn good public land hunter just by following Alex. But now I will say, when you are filming, like you're kind of like in the filming, like you're not fully immersed in like what Alex is doing. You have a job too. So, but like, and I had that experience with Casey, like when we were hunting a lot of private, like he was doing things like when I seen deer do deer things for the first time, like big deer, like I put that in the memory bank. There's stuff that I learned in Kansas on private that I incorporate here at home that have worked numerous times. And it's like, it does translate, but it just like seeing is believing for me, I guess, and to answer your question, no, I haven't had that time in the woods with those guys like that.
I think you just need to take a season and just film DJ. Like, don't make him and his colorblind ass do his own self-filming.
He's good. He's good. He is, I don't want to say too much about his situation because he scouts public, but he hasn't hunted public other than like out of state. Like I'm talking about Michigan. It's like anything, you take a guy like, like Jake Bush or something, or like, and I don't want to put words in Jake's mouth, but like Jake is very successful on Ohio public. Well, it's no different than me being successful on Michigan private. Like he's got the time to go and put that in and scout it and do it. Like he's got his spots like I have my spots. I'm not trying to compare or contrast or whatever, but DJ's the same way. He's intimately knows his properties around here, and I'm not taking anything away from him, but the time factor, people don't look at the time that people can put in. And I think a lot of these guys, I don't think it gets talked about enough, whether it's like and I'm just throwing names out there, but like a Johnny Stewart or, a Dan Infalt that are intimately known these areas and hunt them year in and year out, or know the areas. Like time is the biggest asset, in my opinion, in an area. It's like, yeah, it's like kind of gets to a point where it's rinse and repeat. I'm not going to say it's rinse and repeat around here because things do change, but like I know how deer are going to use sections and use the 1 acre or use, a piece of property or a different crop rotation. That's no different in the public, no different when you have the time to do that. So yeah, like to me, I think the guys that literally drop in, like DJ did in Illinois last year, like drop in and got in a funnel and killed that big deer, like that is like the pinnacle. That is, and there's luck involved too, 100%. But when you get a guy that can do that in a new area, never been there before, that is like, for me, that is like, okay, you did something right there,
Yeah. And a lot of those guys that you just mentioned, I guess I don't know if I think Johnny's killed some deer on public, or on private rather. But, I think he's more known for his like PA stuff, but that's the thing, is like many of those guys can do it on either, they're not just one trick ponies, but I find that like some of the private stuff is way harder. And it's probably because I don't have the time or like the experience, but it's just like, I would rather just walk as far as I can walk until I find what's good, because it's been my experience on private that you're always hampered by property lines, and the deer use transitions, and the transitions are usually on the property lines, and you're dealing
Yes.
with neighbors and whatever, or they're just over there or just over here. And, for whatever reason, the deer know, and it's probably just because you're sitting there that day that something's off. But
Yeah,
just,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, I was gonna say, just give me the biggest piece of property and I'll walk it until I find a spot that looks deery,
Yeah, and I don't want to go down the private public the whole rant because I don't give a shit. I honestly don't. There are a lot of private land, hunting private land is hard too. It very much is, and a lot of stuff I hunt, you can only hunt like a one or two trees, and you only can hunt it on maybe one specific wind. And if you don't, so it's hard to stay out of the woods. It's hard to, and the deer don't use it like that, like they do every year. I mean, my family farm is 220 acres, and I've hunted it. I've been on it since I was a little kid. I still don't know the thing. It is so random. The deer movement is so random, and I've honestly kind of pulled back the reins a little bit from it because, well, one, there's a lot of guys that hunt it, and I still have a goal of I want to kill a good deer up there. I have killed one good buck up there with my bow, but it's so wooded and so there's just no rhyme or reason to it. The terrain, when you look at a piece of terrain or some, let's say you watch an infall video and it's it could match up exactly how I have something, and it just does not get used the same way. And it's well, what the hell? And it's well, what's the hindrance here? The problem with that property, I think, is we hold zero bedding. It is, we do have some cutovers, some overgrowth, or, some new growth coming up, I should say. But the deer, the bedding is on the other people. We're a big passerby farm kind of thing. But it's a crapshoot. It's a rut farm, in my opinion. I think the first week of November, you can get in there and kind of get lucky. But I like seeing deer. I like seeing deer and seeing deer do. That's fascinating to me when I can look out in a field from a tree or something and see a deer use a terrain feature or a fence row, or see them do something like a good buck in Michigan. When you see them do that, and it's man, that's how I thought it was going to be. That is reassuring, and that's why I think I've kind of pivoted to more of the open country. And the Kansas stuff that I was hunting is not very open. You could see a little bit, but it's pretty thick. And that was kind of hard too. I felt like I was getting back into it's a crapshoot now. It's we gotta get lucky here. So, and we were there way too early. I will never ever go that early ever again. No way.
Now, one of the things you said there is on your, I'm assuming you're talking about properties your 1 acre and stuff like that, where you can only hunt one or two trees, and you can only hunt, you got to stay out of there. You can only hunt on certain winds and stuff like that. And it makes a lot of sense why your mindset is where you were saying well, if I call my wife and she's how's the hunting going? And you're oh, I really haven't hunted. Because if you say that you're going hunting, it's because the conditions are perfect and you're doing what you're going to do. Yep. Instead of I'm here, I have to deal with whatever it is, and I don't have one tree. I don't even know that there's, and so that it makes a lot of sense, coming full circle on that for you to have some trepidation about everything has to be kind of perfect to.
It does. Well, I shouldn't say it does, but it feels that way in a way, because if I'm going to go out on a 7-day hunt out of state, I'm just going to hunt my tail off. I'm almost going to hope to just hunt so hard that it happens, kind of thing. You know what I mean? So it is that, but I am kind of analytical in a way to where I want, I think it's so cool to have things line up, like a moon phase and a wind, and it's he's daylighting on this time, and I saw him twice here, and then he shows up and you're holy shit, he actually did it, and I got a shot at him. And that to me, I think fooling a deer in a sense of how you've manipulated, or how you've I mean, we're talking about freaking deer here, but how you've outwitted a deer is so cool to me. And yeah, I bet you if you'd ask my wife, I bet you if when I go to hunt around here, when I go into hunt, she has probably a pretty good feeling that I'm in the game at a high, because I don't hunt a lot. I think last year I hunted the most, in the last couple years, but I might only do a dozen to 15 sits a year, maybe a little bit more, but not very many. But like those sits are high value sits. Like if I called you and I'm like, Adam, I'm going to the 1 acre, like, I don't have to tell you, I have some sort of information, or I have a good feeling on like something's going to show up. And if something doesn't show up, it's almost like, really? Like, I thought I had them, and it doesn't happen all the time, but like I try to position myself to where I have the chips in my favor any way possible that is legal, let's say that, to go in there.
So what's on your docket for this year? Like, are all your chips in Iowa? Are you going to do, you said you had 15 sits last year. Are you planning on, 2 weeks in Iowa, a month in Iowa, whatever it takes to get it done?
Whatever it takes, honestly. My plan is, Michigan is very much, I've put a lot of food plots in this year. My wife is getting back into bow hunting this year. I would take a back seat to her if she wanted to go, more. She stopped bow hunting since, she bow hunted with me all since we, dated and for years. And then when we had our daughter, she kind of just was like, I'm just going to be a mom. And she rifle hunts a little bit, but last couple of years I've been trying to get her back into it, and this year she might only do a sit or 2 or 3, but she likes to do it with me, and I like to go with her. Like, I like to be the camera guy for her, and like kind of like the guide. So to be honest with you, my goal is like Michigan's kind of like, I'm gonna hunt it for sure. But I really want, like, if I have a deer showing up somewhere and it's like, normally I would go in there, my focus is going to be like, hey, will you go in there and hunt? Can we go in there and hunt, you and I? That'll be my question with every sit in Michigan for her, until she tells me to stop asking her, and then I'll just kind of go. But like Michigan, that's kind of how that'll play out. And then my chips are fully 100% on Iowa. Like, it is whatever it takes to get it done. I have a really good situation there with my friend Chad at Midwest Antler Company, and I have cameras running out there right now, and he just helps me out a lot. We're getting ground and stuff like that. And I don't want to say he just lets me kind of go and do my thing, but he kind of lets me go and do my thing. Like, he doesn't really have to worry about me, kind of thing. So I'm going to chase cold fronts. If that means 2 October trips, then I'll do October trips. If there's no cold front in October and nothing's really, he's not really saying it's popping off, I'm not going to do it. And then I'm just going to put my eggs in the rut basket and go from there. And in hindsight, or not in hindsight, but it's like foreshadowing, if it doesn't happen in October and November and I can do a late season, like, I'm going to go to the end. Like, it's so many years have been like waiting on this tag and like money, and it's not a free hunt for me by any means. It's an expensive trip. Like, really, if I kind of told my wife, she'd be like, huh? Like, we could have went to Florida again for this trip. But it only happens right now. It's been 5 years since I've been there, and I know it's going to be another 5 or 6 before I can go back. So all my eggs or my chips are in the middle of the table in Iowa. So that's my goal.
And so what is the goal as far as like the animal? Like, is it booners or bust again, or like,
I get this question a lot. Like, Hutchie's asking me, and DJ, he'll play around. He'll just text me out of the blue, like, where are we at today? Like, what are we killing in Iowa today? And I don't want to, like, at my heart, I want to be like, I want to go to Iowa to kill the 1%. Like, that's what I want to do. But am I okay with coming home with no stone unturned, with 0 tag punch? I think if I feel like I've done everything I could to like kill a deer, like, I think I'd be okay with that. But honestly, Adam, I'm really hunting for an experience, and I don't really want the deer size to be part of that experience. I'm hunting for, I just told this to DJ the other day. I said, I want my world to slow down. I don't want to have to worry about anything when I'm out there. Like, I always feel like I'm worried about what's going on at home, what's going on at work. Like, the crappy thing about what I do for a living is, like, when you go on a hunting trip, it's not like you were taking a rutcation. Like, it's still work. I don't want it to feel like work. I want it to feel like I'm on a rut hunt. Like, I'm on a vacation. So I'm just searching for a good experience, because last Iowa trip is going to be a hard one to top. Not just with the deer I killed, with all the deer I saw, and the amount of deer I saw, and day over day, and how good I hit the rut there and the rut activities. I'm going to go into it open eyes, open arms, and, clear head. And I just want to have a good experience. And, you never know, a 130-inch 9-year-old that just has the freaking fat hanging off him, like just a big bowling ball comes through. I'm like, I don't know if my arrow will even stick in him. Like, that might be the deer that trips my trigger. I'm going to go off the initial look, like, hey, when I see that deer, and I'm like, yep, yes or no. Like, if I say yes, it is a go time. If I say no, then it's no. Or if I have to talk myself into it, it's going to be a no. It's like, I don't want to say booner or bust. And the other thing is, too, I'm going to have a good idea of, like, what deer are on the farm. Now, in the advent of, like, there being a really good 1%, like maybe a 200-inch deer to possibly chase, that I might make an exception for and be like, the storyline is it's that deer or nothing, and go from there.
So that kind of gets into the next question here. Just as you're talking, like you said, that's going to be the storyline. So we talked about, the frustrating thing about bringing the camera for every single thing.
Mm-hmm.
You said, well, it always feels like work. I want to just be able to be free of this. You talked about 2 trips in October, rut all the way to the end of the season in December. At the beginning we talked about Curtis Zabel, and you go back to one of the first things that he did, which was the life of a public land bow hunter, where he chronicles 900 sits basically and kills one, knocks the antlers off it when it dies. Yep. Are you going to be self-filming this? Are you going to have a cameraman? How is it going to play out? Because that struggle is, you probably know it more than anybody, but 100% real. On the first day of the trip, you're driving out there doing all the vlogs, and on the last day, you're like, fuck this camera.
Yeah,
who cares?
It'll be that way. To answer your question about will I have a cameraman, I don't know. That I'm leaving that up to Alex, and if they want it done, I'm not gonna bring it up anymore. Like, I've kind of brought it up and had some guys and everything like that, but at the end of the day, I'm as we sit here right now, I'm going out there and I'm going to self-film the whole thing. And the camera, as much as I'm going to hate it when the trip goes on, or what, it has to go with me. It has to. Like, that is my rule from now on. It doesn't matter if it's Iowa, Michigan, whatever. It's going with me. Has to. I've actually invested a lot of money in my own camera and lenses this year, so like everything is mine. So I think I kind of like holding myself accountable to, like, maybe if it's my stuff that I paid for, it's like, you did this for a reason. The return on investment is nothing. I'm not making any money with this gear. Like, so I have to justify buying all this camera stuff. Yeah. That is kind of how I'm justifying it as well. But so in my gut, in my heart right now, like, I just want to go do it by myself. Like, I just kind of want to have that alone time and just do it how I want to do it. If they want to use it for grit, that's great. Then we'll, and then we'll go down that road. But as we sit here right now, I'm just going to self-film it. And, for me, looking at like a storyline, I think what a very, really cool storyline would be is like self-filming the whole thing, but like putting in, a culmination of how many trips. It might be a few trips, but like 30 sits, and it's just you're beating your head against the wall, and then it happens late in the trip. Like if I could draw it up the right way, that's how I want my Iowa trip to draw up. Is I want to suffer in a way. I want to see good deer. I want to see deer. I want it to be a struggle. I don't want it to be a cakewalk, but at the end, I want there to be a pot of gold. The size of it, the age of it, I don't really care, but like, I want that payoff, because I want to be able to sit down next to that deer by myself and stop the world for 3 minutes, shut the phone off, do whatever, and just reflect and just do a sigh, because that moment right there is the coolest moment for me. And I don't get to do that moment a lot. Like, since 2011, I've always been with someone, whether they've killed it or if I've killed it, someone's been with me. Granted, I've, a couple deer I've killed here in Michigan, I've been by myself, but like, it's a little different when it's in Michigan, when I'm hours away from home and in a piece of ground that I've just barely, started hunting. I'm no intimate with it. I just want to sit there in the middle of nowhere where nobody knows where I am for 3 minutes and just reflect. Like, that's what I'm hunting for, is shutting the world off for 3 minutes and reflecting with that pot of gold, if that makes sense.
It does. It's difficult for me because I love, like what you said about Kansas, like being out there tracking deer, dragging deer. I would rather, I'm the problem. I'm very wrongfully, I guess, for everything that's wrong with Michigan. I'm telling people, you need to shoot that buck because you're robbing everybody else of that experience of celebrating with you, because that's what I love. I mean, I really do. So in that scenario, like let's say you did all that work, you've painted that picture, you're down to, the week between Christmas and New Year's out in Iowa.
God, I hope it doesn't happen that long.
And now you have I don't know. I don't even know how to, like, for the listener to put it into like words, like you have a mediocre 150 in front of you because you're hunting this 200, and your 3 minutes is right there in front of you. Your end of the story, everything you just laid out. Do you shoot that deer that you passed twice already because you were after the big one to put a bow on your story? Or
well, there's a lot that goes into that. Is that 200, is he shown up? And so many times, if I seen him, am I just chasing a ghost? If I'm chasing a ghost, I mean, that 150 is not gonna live. Like, but if it's like I still feel like I'm like in the game and seeing this 200 quite a bit, like that I would have to have a tough time there.
Yeah. Because it's like, is the story the goal, or is the deer the goal, or is,
I think the goal for me right now is, in Adam, if you would have asked me this 5 years ago when I was going to Iowa, the goal was to kill a deer, like kill a good deer, like kill the best deer I've ever had an opportunity at. I've accomplished a lot since then. I've killed some really good deer, some deer that I never thought I'd ever have an opportunity to kill. So, like, accomplishing that, like, now I think my goal has kind of shifted. Now, don't get me wrong, I want to kill a deer for sure, but my goal has kind of shifted to, like, the experience, and, like, to kind of go back to what you're saying, like, hunting with people. I love hunting with people. I don't want to rob that away from myself either, but I haven't had enough, like, lone, like, to reflect on that, so I want that feeling again. But, like, the goal is to just in a way, the goal for me is just to, like, hunt free in a way. Like, and what I mean by that is just, like, clear heart, or clear eyes, full hearts, can't lose, Friday Night Lights. A clear mind. Like, I just feel like the last couple years have been just so stressful. I got to go do this and I got to do that. And I just want to go into a clear mind and, like, just see what happens and suffer a little bit. I think that's, like, the experience and the goal that I want. Ultimately, I want to kill something, yeah. And I'm going to try my damnedest to do it. But I will say this, like, I feel like when I was there in 15 or 19, I didn't know the story. Like, when I look back, I shot a deer that, like, literally I made a brand behind. Like, he's on hats and t-shirts, and, it's like that deer did so much for me that I didn't even know that like, I really feel like that deer was brought in my life for a reason at that time. And I didn't know that at the time, but looking back, I think that deer did so much for me. It catapulted my podcast a little bit. It like gave me an identity almost. Not that I needed one, but it kind of, like, helped me in a way. At that time, going into that trip, I had never killed a deer over Pope and Young, and then I just go from 125 to 186. It's like, holy shit, like, what just happened? But not only that trip, not just that deer, but that trip taught me so much about hunting. A lot of people say, well, that deer, chasing him taught me so much. I don't have a deer that's done that. That trip did that for me. Just seeing big deer react the way they do, and me having the call or the bow in my hand, and, like, what do I do now? Like, how do I, and that trip taught me so much, to where now the trip has changed to where I almost feel like I've been there and I know what to kind of expect. Now it's just like, let's just go have fun kind of thing. And let's do it with a clear mind and just see what happens. It's kind of what I'm chasing right now. I know that's probably not the sexy answer, but that's just kind of where my head's at. And I really don't know if I know what book is going to be written for this trip until I'm done with it. Like, I'm a planner at heart, so I want to be like, I'm going to go into the trip and I want this, and this to happen. That's what I normally do, but I almost want to look back on this trip and be like, man, that book that was written there and that storyline, yeah, that's how it should be put together. Like, I'm going to film it. That's how it should be put together. And that's just what happened with the Hambino and that 19 when I went. Like, I was just going there, and I would have been devastated if I didn't come home with a deer, because that's the stage I was at that time. Now it's like that book, looking back, like that storyline was more of like a Michigan kid never really realizing I could go to Iowa and hunt. Now I have this opportunity and this happened. Now it's like, I know it's obtainable. Now let's just go have fun and see what happens.
I think that's the best way to look at it, really. And I think, I'm far from, shooting a 186 or whatever, but, I've killed a big deer in my book, and I've relegated to myself to the fact that like A, I did it, but B, like the next deer doesn't have to be bigger than that. I just want to go out and have fun and, try and get better or whatever. But like our trip to Kansas this year is just I want to be with that group of guys hunting. And like, there's a couple guys in the group that, one of them hasn't killed anything out of state. We've been on 6-7 trips. I don't know. And he's missed a couple times. And like, I just want him to shoot a deer. I don't care. I'll scout, video. I'll do everything. Cause like, that's the goal, but it's going to be a blast. And the deer, if you're able to be like, the deer doesn't define me. If I'm not a failure as a human being, as a dad, as a father, as a, employee. If I don't come back with this deer, there's nothing left for me, right. Once you realize that, life still goes on, if you don't shoot a deer and when you're okay with that, then I think it changes like the whole attitude and that's kind of what I was getting at with like your story and the self-filming and like what it looks like, because it doesn't matter the hunt. Like I would say, even for someone who like me, that's very laid back about it, you get to that last like 2 days, like it gets really pressing, because you're, when you talk about you want to be in the moment and not at home, that last day, it always comes down to, at least for me, well, if I shoot something, then I have to do this, and then it changes this, and I'm supposed to be here, and I'm supposed to do that, and I'm supposed to do this. So yeah, that freedom of being out there and just, having fun and enjoying the ride, I think is something that a lot of people have a hard time doing. And especially like you said, you could go to Florida or take a trip with the amount of money that it's going to cost to do that. And I think that weighs pretty hard on people too, is like, I spent my money, I need to come home with something. Otherwise my wife will kill me or whatever.
I want to go back real quick. You said something about a deer defining you. I will be 100% transparent. 5-6 years ago and before that, like, being less mature than I am now, and not obtaining some of the goals that I so badly wanted overnight, like deer did define me. Like I wanted to kill a certain deer so I could be like, I'll be totally transparent. Like I wanted to be credible. Like and as time went on, because I am close to some people that are all still like, that are older than me, that are, I'm 38. I know people in their 50s that deer still define them. And it's sickening. It's sickening in how they treat properties, and they treat like other hunters and belittle them and degrade them. And like, and I know a few people like this, and I'm like, man, that's not me. Like that, I don't like that. And I don't know when it happened. It was a few years ago or whatever, but like, I'm still competitive with myself. I'm not competitive with, anybody else. I could care less, but like, I'm fully content with not killing a deer or killing a buck in a year. If I've given it my all, if I go out of that season, I'm like, man, I left a lot of stones unturned there. Like that's on me, but if I do what I feel like I should do to get it done and I don't get it done, that's on me. But anyway, like that feeling when it doesn't define you, or you don't feel like or if you feel like you're doing this for the gram or whatever it is, or to be cool, like when you can get over that, if you ever do, it is freeing. It is so freeing. Your attitude in camp or around people is so much better. You're happy for other people. You're a lot less selfish. Like it's a selfish thing. Like it's a selfish trait, and like hunting the way it should be done is fun and not stressful. And why are we making it not fun and not stressful? Like I live for the fall. That's why my podcast is called The Fall. Like I live for that time. Why am I asked myself this years ago, is like, why am I letting these furry animals define who I am and if I'm credible or not or whatever? And once I got over that, I'm like, I don't even know why I was doing that, and it's helped me out too, because with my daughter, and I know your daughter's a little older than my daughter, but just growing them up and stuff like that, and kind of instilling that kind of mindset to her at a young age is, I think, going to help too, and don't be selfish, and be kind to other people. And my daughter actually wears a necklace that says "Be kind" all the time. Like, and I think it's the coolest thing ever. So I'm getting a little soft at him. So just saying, like, I want to be transparent, because I feel like a lot of times I haven't been in the past. And I mean, this is me. This is who I am. And ultimately I'm better when I'm myself,
Well, yeah. And I think that's there are people who, have wanted to come on the podcast. There's people recommend, like, hey, how come you haven't talked to this person or this person? It's like, I have no desire to talk to somebody for, any length of time who I wouldn't want to share camp with, or that I wouldn't want to, and like I said, for, I guess I would say, as few podcasts as we've done together, the amount of beers and conversations and phone calls and, time spent is immeasurable. So you being you is what allows our relationship to, you know what I mean? Like
100%. Yeah. I'm the same way. I don't know how many people like ask, like, hey, you should get this guy on, or people ask to be on the podcast. I mean, that could be the biggest turnoff to me, is like I think it's flattering and stuff, but like I do vet the person out. If I feel like and they have a story, like, yeah, I'll record with you. But I'm like, man, like a lot of times it's just like clout chasing, and it's like, let me seek you out. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. So for your fall and everything, what we're here in, July, what's going on with like work and the timeline, everything with Latitude? I know you guys got some products coming out here soon. So what are all the new things you're working on over there that you can talk about?
Adam, I feel like we have our hair on fire. It's good though. It's a good thing. We are like ridiculously busy. Derek and I have tag teamed Grit this year. He's done, I think I did 3 episodes, and I think he did the rest. I can't remember how many we have, but we're kind of finalizing those. Well, actually we are finalizing those. But I've kind of transitioned to like doing all like the product stuff, and Derek's kind of taken over like the Grit side, which in the past it was kind of the flip side. And he's in Ohio, so I think the transition was more like I can be here at the studio doing product shoots and stuff like that. It was just a little easier on that side. So we're kind of transitioned that way. But I still love doing Grit, and I like helping Derek out, and he's crushing it and doing a great job. But we're finalizing that right now. The plan is to go live, and I'm not going to give you a specific date. Let's just say August, September. Okay. I don't want to give you a specific date. So that's going on. We have new product stuff that I am super pumped about. There's one piece coming out that, I mean, I'm just going to go ahead and say it, and I think it's the best thing that saddle hunting has seen or will have seen. And it's like not reinventing the wheel or anything like that, or it's you guys will know. I don't know when will this go live? Are you
this
thinking?
week?
Yeah, so it'll. I mean, you guys are gonna see it here in the next couple weeks. But
so is it something that will fit in a dump pouch? Is it something that
no? it's something that's very crucial to have while you're saddle hunting. Let's just say that. I'm super pumped about that. That's what I'm working on a lot right now, is that project. And then we have, some other, I really can't get into the weeds on some of the stuff, but, just my day to day right now is so, it changes every hour. It seems like, hey, we need to do an ad here for this product, go shoot this. I'm usually going to GR to the studio once a week. Right now it's been like twice a week, whether it might be like Alex and I going out and doing a shoot in the field. Like tonight we're doing a night shoot tonight, so getting those golden hours, but then we're doing like a after dark shoot on some stuff, and then just a ton of editing. And I don't know, it's been fun. It's been hair on fire at times, but it's been good, and I'm excited for it all. I wish I could give you some nuggets, but it's going to be exciting. Let's just put it that way.
Well, so this podcast is not dropping tomorrow. Isn't there a new product that's coming out like today or tomorrow? Or
so today is the 17th. It is. So the new products that came out today are we dropped I don't know why I've been saying Badlands, the Mossy Oak Bottomlands stuff. So we have the Lone Star in a Bottomlands variant now, the packs, the Ranger 11 and the Ranger 22, which everybody's familiar with. Those are coming in Bottomlands. We have back bands. What else did we do? We did the pouches, like the Method pouch and the Classic pouch. Those are in Bottomlands. And honestly, Adam, so I was a couple weeks ago, I was in the studio and we got the first samples in of the Lone Star saddle with the Bottomlands. And I was taking photos of it, and Alex was on his computer or whatever. And I took the first photo and I looked at it. I'm like, Alex, this pattern was made for the Lone Star. I don't know why, but it just looks so good on the Lone Star. So good that I grabbed a Lone Star with the Bottomlands on it. Like, it just looks so good. And so we dropped that today. So it's just like another variant of it. Nothing new other than just the camel pattern. But I guess I will say, I probably won't get in trouble for it, but what I'm talking about is the Method 3 that's coming out. I've spent a lot of time in it because I have that luxury of being at the studio and getting in it. My God. I don't know how to say anything. It's just so cool. It's so cool. And I can't wait for everybody to see it and get their opinion on it. But I'm super jacked for it.
Awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to, everything that Latitude's doing, but your hunt here coming up in Iowa and like what we've talked about. I know you are going to be, going through a lot of the stuff on the podcast. You're usually kind of like in real time. You'll keep the videos and stuff like that, like long form, a little bit closer to the vest, but the story will be out there, and I'm looking forward to following along. So I appreciate you taking the time in your crazy day life, everything. So thanks for coming on today, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Don't tell Hutchie when we recorded this, because he's been trying to get me on. I'm like, dude, it's like just changes every day. And I'm like, I legitimately just text you and was like, hey, do you want to do it right now? And you're like, yeah, so we did it. So I'm good. I'm glad you had me on. I appreciate it for asking, and good luck this fall. But yeah, I will be doing the live updates as I'm in Iowa daily, so everybody will be able to hear that. So I think that'll be cool for people to follow.
Awesome. Well, thanks, man.
Bow hunting all comes down to a moment. And in the moment, you want equipment on your bow that will get the job done. Trophy Ridge products are the tools bow hunters trust. React technology sights, rests, stabilizers, and quivers to help a bow hunter be successful in the field. And those tools are from Trophy Ridge.
This episode is brought to you by Boat Trader, America's largest boating marketplace. Whether you're buying, selling, or upgrading, the Boat Trader app makes it easy. With the biggest selection of new and used boats from dealers and private sellers. Browse, compare, and even apply for financing. All in one place. Download the Boat Trader app and start your search today.